What's up, guys? My name's Ethan Salisbury. I run Unbound Snow Scooter Rentals, and today we're going to be doing a snow scooter model comparison with the Eretic snow scooters we have for rent here. So first, I'm going to bring up my slope model. That's the one we usually start the beginners on. Got skinnier skis. I'll walk through the differences whenever we get out there. We're going to go 2 laps of the hike park, probably the jumps, and then we're going to go down 1 lap at the bottom of Eagle. And during that time, we're going to get a feel for how it feels in the park, how it feels carving, how it feels on ice, on snow, just different conditions and different things we're going to be doing with it. What they're good for, what they're not so good for, the kind of person who might want to use a specific model versus a different model. So let's go from there. See you out there. So this right here is our slope model Eretic snow scooter. I will go into the details about what makes this one special. But before I do that, I'm actually going to explain what's the same on both models. You have a welded-on clamp that clamps the bars onto the fork. You also have an HIC compression system that stands for Hidden Internal Compression, and using any other kind of compression system on it takes some work to do. Both snow scooters also come with a plastic footrest on the back. That is not a brake, it's just for something to put your foot against, and that footrest is attached to the deck. Now, this is not a snow bike, it's a snow scooter, so you stand on a deck, and this deck, instead of having grip tape, has steel pins in it. These actually grab my boots better than any grip tape ever has. Both models also come with lock-on rubber grips. If you try and use a regular grip, it's just not going to work. They both come with a chromoly steel bar. These come at 24.4 wide by 28.8 tall. So, what makes the slope snow scooter special? And why did I say earlier that this is the one that we recommend more for beginners? Well, just like on beginner skis, you're going to want a skinnier ski to engage those edges a little bit easier, as well as a little bit shorter just for a little bit lower effort maneuvering. The second major difference is the pivotal fork. This is a fork that pivots up and down just a few degrees, and you wouldn't think that that does much, but you would be surprised. It definitely makes a big difference in handling. It has a black colorway. It's got this kind of cool bare wood look to the design of the skis. I really like it. It's definitely solid. Now, what this combination of a skinnier ski as well as a fork that pivots does is make for a scooter that is very reactive to your input. And that's exactly what you want for a beginner. You turn more like a snowboard. You need to lean onto those edges and feel it grip, feel it grab. And with this one, that's just the easiest thing to learn how to do. It involves the least effort. This one wants to be on its edges all the time. These do, on my rentals and on these examples right now, have my Unbound axle kit. This just makes it so that your day on the slopes will be a lot more reliable. You're not going to have your axle ever getting loose or just falling out on you, because a loose front ski does definitely affect handling. So if you ever get tired of bringing your 2 Allen wrenches with you on the slopes every day and having to tighten them up every run, check out my Unbound Enduro Axle Kit. That's on unboundsnowscoot.com, and I think you'll really love it, guys. Alright, here we are at the top of the Copper Mountain Hike Park jump line. These are just 2 small jumps, and as time has gone on, they've only gotten smaller. So they're really just kind of rollers with small lips on them now, but they are doing well enough for our uses. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to go down, we're going to do a double whip and then a bar spin. We're going to hike back up, do a heel whip, and then a 360 on the second jump, on the second run. Let's go ahead and get started with run 1 on the Eretic Slope snow scooter and see how it feels. So, immediate thoughts right off the bat after the first run. The tail whips absolutely definitely feel easier to throw than on my snow scooter with the powder skis. All of that difference in weight between the slope model and the powder model is felt in the deck, because pretty much that entire difference in weight is from the difference in the size of skis. So when you're throwing your tail whips, these lighter skis are definitely going to give you an easier tail whip. You're going to throw them a lot faster. The other thing I immediately noticed when I was riding it is that it doesn't feel as stable when you're not on the edges. it always kind of wants to be in its edges. You can feel that whenever trying to build up speed, it kind of doesn't like to just kind of straight line at things. It wants to carve, it wants to turn, it wants to do that, and when you are going at high speeds, it just doesn't feel quite as stable. I'd say the third thing, and the thing that's more specific to me and will tell you whether this model is for you or not, is that my toes and my heels actually do drag a bit on the snow whenever I'm turning a bit hard, or even if I just land with my heel or toe off the deck a bit. Alright, now we're back at the top. Let's get started on run number 2. So what happened there is I'm not used to how much that edge engages on that takeoff, and it will rotate a little bit, and then I don't quite engage the edge quite enough on the landing. So that almost results in a revert. Look, I just barely saved it there. Now I know I'm not showing this too much really today, but I would not really recommend this for grind-focused riding. The skinnier skis make 50/50s a little sketchier, and the more flexible back ski makes board slides feel a little bouncy for sure, and less stable because you have less surface area to balance on. That being said, if you're more of an air rider and you're not going to be hitting too many rails, you just want something that's really light to throw as many whips as you can in the park, maybe throw a couple bri flips or something like that, then this might be the one that you would want. Also, if you're more like just a lighter rider in general, if you're a younger person, if you weigh like maybe under 130 pounds or something like that, then this might be the model for you just for that reason. Now we finished with the slope version in the park. We're going to go ahead and take this down. I believe the run is called Rhapsody, back to the bottom of Eagle. We're going to see how it feels and then switch it out for the powder. Straight off the bat, you can already tell that this feels very different on this kind of, I wouldn't say icy condition, but it's definitely very packed. It digs in so much harder to this kind of hard pack condition. Just any kind of ice, you're going to have more feeling of that edge right under your toe or right under your heel, and you're just going to enjoy the ice a bit more. I could really see this version doing better for perhaps riders on the East Coast. Not this season, really. We're not doing that well over here in Colorado, but maybe if you're a Wisconsin or Minnesota rider where you're used to more of an icy condition, this version might do better in that kind of context. Now, when you do transition from ice to even mildly deep snow, the difference is more pronounced. It just slows down so much quicker. You can feel it just drop down. If you're not careful, you get more than like 4 inches out of nowhere after an ice patch. You don't lean back far enough, that nose can dive, and that can be an issue for you. Yes, when going from edge to edge, when turning and carving down the mountain, it absolutely changes direction quicker. But if you're going straight and then you're trying to turn from going straight, it almost feels slower somehow. It does feel less stable. It feels like it wants to turn a bit. If you aren't really turned into that edge, it feels like you can catch edge a little bit easier. I think the moguls might be the best visual representation of how the edges work differently between the models. Now, as you can see here, I'm hitting some moguls. The slope scooter is making some pretty light work of it, honestly. They change direction quickly, which is fantastic for mogul use. They're kind of following the flow of the mogul. I'm not plowing through them. As far as mogul runs go on the slope version, this might be the best configuration for them. This one just does not spray quite as well as powder skis do. I really tried to dig in there, stopped really hard, ride through that mist, but I couldn't really build up a huge cloud like I really can with the other two versions. Alright, now we made it back to the base of Eagle Lift. We're going to switch this up with the powder model, and I will see you back at the top of the hike park. Welcome to the powder model. This model has wider, stiffer skis, and it also has a steel fork, not aluminum, and this one does not pivot. The edge is always consistently lined up with the back ski, which is going to help you feel a little more stable in powder with a consistent edge feeling, but it's not quite as dynamic on a packed or groomed slope. Instead of having a black colorway, this has a white colorway with a snowflake design on the top of the skis, and it is a little bit heavier. Not anything enormous, but you will notice the extra pound or two you'll have on there. And like I said earlier, all that extra weight is in the deck. Alright, now we're back at the top of the jumps, and let's give her a go. Alright, pretty happy with that double whip. Okay, I'm going to let you know right now, this was terrifying. I'm glad I got it on video though. This is a great example of why I like to ride some skinnier bars. Like I said, these ones are about a little over 24 wide. I like to ride 21 wide myself. I just cannot manage to get those bars far enough away from my pants, and I just catch on them way too often. If I was going faster, this would have been a problem, but luckily, not too much of an issue here. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that with this solid fork that does not pivot, whenever you take off a lip like this, you can sometimes have issue with the steeper takeoff with only the ends of the skis being in contact with the snow. This will result in a lot of drag that can have some issues locking your edges in, but this was not an issue here. This is not a steep takeoff by any means, and so I couldn't really tell too much of a difference between the pivot fork and the solid fork on this very shallow lip. The other thing that I noticed going down this run that's a little bit different from the slope is that this one is definitely a little bit heavier, especially around the foot area. But personally, I'm just kind of a fan of that. I like that heft it has to it. I like how you can really feel it thrown around. It really feels like it's punching your foot in the face whenever it reaches your foot after a nice double whip like that. I'm just a masochist, I guess.
Huh?
That huge of a difference in weight between the two, but I like the feeling of the powder generally more as someone who's had a bit of experience on them before. Alright, now we're at the top again for run number 2 with the powder version snow scooter. There we go, that heel whip felt good and hefty. And the 360 really felt very similar to the slope model. I couldn't tell too much of a difference other than the weight being slightly different. I thought this solid fork would give me a little more trouble, or at least I'd notice the difference a bit more, even on these shallow jumps, but I really don't. It felt perfectly fine to get in the edge and didn't really feel like it dug in on the ends at all on the takeoffs. I feel like if you're riding straight or some homemade ramps, which are usually more steep than these park setups are, then you might see some more trouble with this kind of fork. But here, perfectly fine. I really do like the feeling of this fork, but it's whenever you're really on the edge of the grip or you're in more of an emergency about to slide out situation that pivot fork is going to really come into its own. It has the edge hold in there more often, even if it feels less consistent. You have more grip. Okay, now let's take the powder version for a run. The powder version would make a wonderful cruiser if you're just looking for something to have like kind of a flowy feeling going down the mountain, not really trying to do too many tricks, really just trying to feel good doing some turns going down. Nothing too dynamic or anything like that. I think this would be a fantastic option for you. Slowing yourself down and engaging your edges takes more effort on the hard pack and icy conditions. It's also definitely slower to change direction from one side to the other. When you are changing from one edge to the other, it feels like it glides more. But once you are locked into that edge for some carving, you feel locked in more than you do on the slope. Something I didn't think about much was the bar spins do feel different from the slope to the powder model. You have more mass that you have to spin, and so that means a little bit more wobble, and that's why it's grabbing my pants a bit more than the other versions. You can compensate for that, but you have to be used to it, which I am not right now. It handles moguls pretty well, definitely better than I was originally expecting it would, but it still definitely required some more effort to do so, and especially to do it smoothly. It didn't feel like it wanted to follow the flow of the mogul as much as the slope model did. It wanted to plow over them, and I kind of had to fight its desire to do that. That being said, it was still pretty fun to take to the moguls. I liked how it felt, even if it wasn't the most dynamic or effective. It also grabbed the snow in a way that just sprayed the best. I don't know why, but it just felt the best. In summary, this one feels great. Might not be the best for ice or moguls. Now that we've finished that run here, we're going to go back to the top with mine and see how that feels. This right here is my personal snow scooter. To make it easier to refer to, we're going to go ahead and call it the Elite version. And if it isn't clear already, this is definitely my favorite one to ride. Let me go ahead and show you what's different on this model. This has the wider powder skis combined with the pivotal slope fork. It also has an aftermarket Helix headset, Aaron Mays edition, and I've modified it to be compatible with an SCS clamp compression system. But along with the fork, the second really main difference is going to be the bars. These are about 2 inches taller, and 3.5 inches skinnier than the stock Eretic snow scooter bars. Something you might be curious about is whether you can still fully rotate the bars with the large skis and the pivoting fork. And actually, yes you can. It has perfectly fine clearance. I've had zero issues with it, and they're completely compatible. Alright, now we're at the top of the hike park again, and let's send the Elite version down the hill for a double whip. Now it looks like I'm not even used to my own bars anymore, but I still like the run. That was a very good feeling double whip. Now what I love about this one is that your edge feels locked in and you feel stable like you're on the POW version, but you don't have that kind of drift between edge direction changes. This one just feels much more reactive to your input. Now I like to ride, like I was saying, skinnier, taller bars. Shorter bars keep your center of gravity low to ensure that you have better handling, even if you're not trying as much to stay low. And wider bars will help you get on your edges easier, because you're just able to torque from side to side just with less effort. But I like to do bar spins, and I can't do that with wide bars, so I like these. These are actually the exact same size bars that I ride on my regular scooter. I just like this size, I guess. In addition to just being custom fit to your exact size preferences, having your own bars on there just makes it feel like your snow scooter. Just helps you personalize it a bit. Alright, now we're at the top for Jump Run 2. And I did a revert on the landing there. This one has the best edge hold to take off of, and I just kind of got lazy on the landing, so I didn't dig in my edge well enough, and I did a revert there. And we're not going to count that because I have to land the line for it to count as a real test. Now weirdly, even though I didn't land this one, to me it's actually a sign of how much better this one works for spins and things like that. I just over-rotated because I wasn't expecting it to spin so well, I guess. So let's go ahead and try that run a second time. Okay, that 360 was a little bit slow, but it still felt good, and I hope it showed just how well that edge grabs. It has the most consistent takeoff, and also upon landing you're able to regain control the quickest. So I really just think it's the best for spins and kind of all-around park and all-mountain riding. Alright, now I think we've learned enough about the Elite version in the park. Let's go ahead and take it down for a run of Rhapsody. So if I had to describe the slope version in one word, it would just be squirrely. And if I had to describe the powder version in one word, it would be numb. And just a combination of the slope version fork and the powder ski just gives a perfect in-between those two. You feel stable, but still reactive. One way you can tell an advantage with the slope version versus either the POW or my Elite version is when it comes to riding ice. The slope fork does not help with ice conditions, only the skinnier skis of the slope version help with ice. I really like the way this one feels on moguls. I'd say the slope version probably rode them with a little more grace, but this one just feels like it can just dominates the moguls. It can still ride between them while also plowing over them just fine if you really get into a pinch or just feel like you have to. This one, great in moguls. However you want to ride them, you can ride them. Now this one absolutely sprays snow when you're trying to come to a stop or just trying to spray yourself in the face. A lot better than the slope version did. But something about the POW version, the way it just grabbed the snow as you're doing it, felt the best. Though they probably threw almost equal amounts of snow, I'd say. I just preferred doing it on the pure POW version fork and skis. In conclusion, the POW version is a great cruiser. The slope version is fantastic for learning. But when you really want to start getting serious on it, combine the slope fork with the POW ski, and you'll never look back. I'd really like to thank you guys so much for watching this, and just want to leave you with a few final thoughts. Despite what model you're choosing, you come out here, get on the slopes on one of these, you're going to have a blast. And each one of them offers their own unique, enjoyable challenges. If you've never been on a ski slope before, These offer a fantastic advantage in that you can take your foot off while you're still learning, so when you don't know how to turn or stop or anything, you have an alternative to just falling down. In addition, you get to wear whatever kind of footwear you like. If you want to stay extra warm and have something real bulky, you can wear a snowboard boot if you'd like to. I like to wear a regular winter hiking boot. I find it just fits me the best. If you'd like to wear something thinner, like a snow skate shoe, you can go for that too. It's really up to you, and it makes everything a lot more comfortable. Nobody likes when they're trying to just have a good day on the mountain, but their feet are just screaming at them the entire day. Loading chairlifts is also very straightforward and easy. You can just walk up to the wait here line, sit on the chair, then when you get out the top, step right on and slide off. And whenever it comes to powder days, which I get a lot of questions about on this, imagine you're riding a jet ski through some waves. It just kind of feels soft, cushy. You go under the water, pop back up, feel like a dolphin. It's fantastic. There's also a fact that this is just such a low price of entry when it comes to getting into the sport. It's about $425 for a brand new snow scooter, and you can just wear boots that you already have. You don't have to buy extra bindings. Everything you need just comes right along with it. So whether you dislike bindings, you come from a biking or scootering background, you just prefer the feeling of handlebars to having bindings, you want a more comfortable experience while you're out here on the mountains, or you just want to try something different this season, mix it up a little bit, there are so many good reasons to try an Eretic snow scooter this season, and just check with your ski resort, see if they allow it. But for the most up-to-date list information on ski resorts in the United States that allow snow scooters right now, follow Snow Scooters USA on Instagram. My goal is to make snow scootering more accessible at more resorts in America, and just provide education in general, since there's so little information known to the general public about these right now. And I want people to be able to enjoy the mountain in the way that best suits them, not just either snowboarding or skiing. I think there are a lot of people who would enjoy another way of enjoying the great outdoors here in some of the most beautiful spots in the entire world. If you'd like to support me in this goal and help me out, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and you can follow Unbound Snow Scoot on Instagram. Or even better, come visit me here in Summit County, Colorado, and you can try one of our snow scooters this winter for only $50 a day. And you can also pick up one of our Unbound Enduro axle kits for only $10, and that'll bulletproof your day at the ski resort at unboundsnowscoot.com. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed the video.